Commentary Booth is a show for media lovers by media lovers just like you. If you want to support the show, go to pariomagazine.com.au. Welcome to the Commentary Booth, where we watch and, you guessed it, commentate on the week that was in movies and TV. I'm your host and play-by-play commentator Jamie Apps, and each week I'm joined by a rotating cast of colour commentators to help you find your next viewing treat. This week, I'm joined by a special guest colour commentator in the form of the owner of Maison de Femmes, a jewellery brand. Welcome back to the show, Jessica Kumanovski.
Hey, Jamie.
So last time you were here, on episode 97, we spoke about part 1 of Ozark season 7. Is that what it is?
4? Is it
4.
season 4?
Maybe it's 4. I don't know. I've totally lost track with them splitting seasons. But yeah, the final season. We know it's the final season.
Yeah, I think, season 4.
Season 4.
Part 2.
Where did I get 7 from? So yeah, you're now back to close out the season with part 2. Overall, what did you sort of think of this second half of the season?
I mean, I think I felt like it dragged on, like every 2-part film franchise, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows part, 47. I felt like it dragged on and it ended and I felt super disappointed. I felt disappointed. Yes.
Yeah, I think.
And also skeptical. Lots
Yeah.
of scenes where I was just kind of like, that wouldn't have happened. This is crap.
Yep. Yeah, when they announced that they were splitting this last season into 2 7-episode parts, I was excited. And then by the time that we got to episode 14, I was kind of just, it didn't feel finished. It didn't feel resolved like I expected it to do.
If we start at the end, then that whole Sopranos ending, fade to black, did, the little annoying kid shoot the woman? Was it a woman? It was a woman, wasn't it? Oh, no, the guy, the bloke,
the private investigator.
Yes, it was just kind of very I don't know, I guess finished on Wendy's high note of, we're a family and family comes first, and it just had such a super Sopranos vibe with the fade to black and then the final gunshot. So yeah, I was just kind of okay. And I think we talked about this in the last podcast episode. We were discussing Ozark, the first part, and I made a comment about how it starts and they flip the car.
Yep.
And I was like, imagine if we've just seen the final episode, how much of a better ending would that have been if the final episode is they get out of all of this, they drive into Chicago, they have an accident and they all die. It's I don't know, kind of such a more karmically fitting ending. And instead, what we see when we finally catch up to that scene again, they just walk out of getting their car rolled.
Even though Wendy's totally unconscious for part of that accident. You think she's dead initially, and then they're like, oh no, she was just out cold. And then they're fine.
She was fine. It's Wendy, of course. So I fully expected something more. It was such a anticlimactic scene. It was just kind of oh, okay. And then they get in a cab, go home, and then yep. And then the bad guy, Nelson or whatever, is you'll have to come see him at the prison, and they're okay. Don't even go in and wash their faces and have a cup of tea or something, and they're just okay, get in the car, go to the fucking prison. I was you just had a car accident that you didn't die or break anything in somehow. What was
your car flipped about 15 times and you're totally fine.
Yeah, it didn't really look like the safest minivan, so I don't really I really didn't understand the whole point of that entire scene. It was so anticlimactic.
Yeah, I had the exact same thought. I was the ending Jess and I came up with last episode felt so much
Way
more
better.
like rounded out and fulfilling than the way the season eventually ended. I was just like, I guess
Maybe
one of the
maybe
writers
they'll
was a
watch this and
Sopranos fan.
yeah. I don't know. It felt really tacky, to be honest. That whole fade to black, the kids
It was like
shoot.
they didn't
I
know
was
how to
like
end
trying
it.
to unpack it. Yeah, and they're like, yeah, let's just rip off something that was good. Yeah, okay. I don't know. I thought it was crap.
Yeah, I was disappointed with the ending.
Mm.
But like we mentioned last time, they had to finish airing this season by the 31st of May to be eligible for Golden Globes. So they obviously achieved that goal. Whether it wins an award or not, I think the first part is probably better than the second part of the season, but we'll see how
Yeah.
it fares. I felt like this half of the season was totally the Ruth show. Like
Yeah.
she
Yep.
took over a lot more focus in this second half of the season.
Yeah, I felt like the first episode, I was so bored in that first episode because it was just so much Ruth crying and, swearing and whatever and saying shit. And
And listening to
then, is she going
random
to shoot
rap.
him? Isn't she? And listening to random rap. And then she like runs into a rapper in the diner and they have this like moment, like, fuck off. Like, I don't know. And then even like, I was like, why the fuck would Marty call what's the guy's name? The bad guy? The hot bad guy.
Harvey.
Harvey. Why would he call him? Like why did he just cow to what Ruth wanted? If he hadn't, then everything would have just been so much easier for them. Like I do actually understand why Wendy was like so angry at him and so like, carrying on and blaming him. I was really annoyed about her blaming him for like the first part of that episode. And then I was kind of like, you know what? Like she's right. Like if you hadn't called her and called him, then this wouldn't have happened. Like, why did you do that? You could have absolutely not dealt with that. Like, what was she gonna do? Like, you could easily like changed her mind. Like, what was she gonna do? Nothing.
Yeah, and like I don't feel Ruth at that point would have been at the point of being like, right, I'm just going to shoot Claire instead.
Yeah,
Or
she would never have
Marty
done
or
that.
Wendy, like she wouldn't have done that. She would have just, okay, I don't know what to do. I'm just going to leave. And she would have stormed out most
Yeah,
likely. Whereas
yeah. I
calling Harvey
definitely
in,
don't think
it
she
was the
was.
one person that she was ready to kill.
Yeah, I don't think she was gonna. She had it in her to kill anybody else. Although that also kind of bugged me that she was so like, oh my god, I killed somebody, like distraught over it, and it was like, you killed your uncle. Like this isn't the first time you've killed anybody.
That's true.
Her own flesh and blood, she like electrocuted them. So it was like,
Yeah,
yeah,
she's a strange character.
yeah,
But yeah, like that first episode, really slow, and then that moment hits you like, oh. And that made me excited to watch episode 2, but then episode 2 was another one that was kind of just there. I don't recall much happening in episode 2. It was more, okay, so that big thing just happened in episode 1. Let's put the wheels in motion to rectify all that, and then we can move on with the rest of the season. It didn't feel like anything super important happened in episode 2.
yeah. I mean, even in episode 1, like the whole, did she do it? She's having a dream, imagining herself shooting him, and then like when she actually does shoot him, it's so quick. Like he walks in and he's all confident. He barely gets like 2 meters away from her. She like pulls out the gun, and like it's not even a close up scene. Like it's a really far away scene, and she just like shoots him dead and then walks out. I kind of liked that. I liked that it was really like ripped the band-aid off, no talking, no bullshit. She just did what she had to do and left.
Yep.
But then it also kind of set you up to be like, did she just imagine that? Like, did that happen, or was it like, yeah, like one of their little like cinematic tricks? But yeah, I agree. In episode 2, like I don't even remember what happened in that episode.
Yeah, I read the synopsis I read the synopsis for 2, and I was like, okay, none of that really rings any bells. So whatever.
What was it? What happened in episode 2?
It's when they basically had to go and tell Navarro that, okay, he's dead. We need to get the wheels in motion of, you need to get control back because
Yeah,
Harvey's dead
yeah.
now,
Oh,
so
and
we
he's
we
like,
have to fix this.
yeah, and then he's like, yeah, Marty, why don't you go down this white gringo that we like tortured in our basement and everyone is aware of? We're gonna like just send you down and they're gonna respect you. It'll be fine. I was like, huh?
Yep. Yeah, and then that's where episode 2 comes in, where Marty is in Mexico running the
Yeah,
cartel essentially and trying to get the information about
yeah.
uh,
Who like
who's ripping money off, and then eventually who tried to kill Navarro while he was down there, which was a cool little
yeah.
twist.
But I saw that coming so easily. Like it was so
Mm,
obviously his sister. Like as soon as they introduced her as his sister, it was like, well, she did it. And it was
yep.
like, how does Marty not see that? He's being all like, oh, like poor, like widow, like you lost your son. Like he really like you could see the way that he behaved to her. Like it was just like a very like obvious like sexist lens. Like he treated her so differently, even though
Mm.
she was very obviously manipulative as shit. If he didn't treat her like some poor little woman, he'd realize actually she's gonna try and fuck you over in one way or another. Like
Yeah,
yeah,
like
I
they
don't
give
know.
you
It kind
plenty
of
of
bugged me. It
hints
was just
of,
like, get there quicker. Like,
they
figure it
do
out
give you
quicker,
plenty of
Marty.
hints where she's wheeling and dealing behind the scenes. Like they show her talking to the lawyer or talking to some of the lieutenants in the background and things like that. And you're like, she's up to something, but they don't sort of
As
tell you
soon
what
as,
she's up to until the assassination goes
yeah,
down. And then that kind of gives it away.
no, I don't know. I figured it out heaps early on. I was like, it's obviously her. And like, as soon as he was like, tell them that I ordered the hit on Harvey, it was like, she's going to be so pissed about that. Like, what's she going to do? Like, look at her. She's like some like fierce Mexican woman, you know, super strong, super like all over her shit. As if she's just gonna just be like, okay, my baby's dead, that's fine. I don't know. I didn't
Yeah.
buy it.
Yeah. Cartel families, don't mess with them. Um,
Yeah.
I did the torture scenes and stuff down in Mexico were pretty full on though, with Marty kind of standing there and having to deal with it and sort of grow his character in a way where he wasn't afraid to get his hands dirty.
I mean, he didn't really have to physically get his hands dirty though. He just had to kind of be like, you know, in his mumbly accountant way, like, did you do it? Okay, nods, punch him again. I'm like, you didn't do anything. Like, you have no real power here. Like,
I, I guess it was more just like the fact that he had to physically stand there and watch it. Whereas in previous
yeah,
seasons, if stuff like that was
yeah, he's
happening, he would
been
either turn
more
his
of a
back or just
pacifist.
leave. Whereas this time he
Yeah.
kind of had to control it and be the one giving the orders, which I think sort of helped him later in the season.
Well, yeah, like channel that rage that Wendy's the person pulling all the strings and trying to like lead the family and be the head of the house while he's the one having to do like and forced into situations he didn't want to go to Mexico. It was Wendy's idea. It's like, why doesn't Marty go? And he was like, yeah, good idea. And then wasn't it her idea like to not for him not to go? Like was she the one that like said why don't you go down to Mexico? And then she said why doesn't the sister go?
Yeah, I think she
Or did
initially
he
tells him to
say,
go, and then
hmm,
once he's down there, she's kind of like, "You need to come back. It's dangerous." And it's like, "You sent me here. What are you talking about?"
yeah,
Like she's just all
yeah,
over the shop, and I understand why later in the season he finally breaks and has that massive road rage incident where he's just
oh yeah,
over
that
her
was
shit.
insane. Yeah, which I mean, fuck, she was so annoying. And then she's all like, I know I'm difficult to love because her dad said it. It's just like, babe, you are 45, 50. You should have figured this out 20 years ago. Like, get some therapy, do the work, stop being awful. And then she manipulates her children. The kids need to know that I'm in the fucking mental institution. They
Mhm.
need to see me in here. Like, you are the worst. Like, her dad was awful though. Like, her kids shouldn't have gone there. But then, like, and that whole like scene where she's like screaming on the steps and she's like, Daddy, Daddy, don't you take my babies from me. It was just like, oh, fuck, like you are so tapped, man. You have so many issues going on.
Yeah, she's such an annoying character. Like this part of this season in particular, like, she really made me hate her a lot in this 7 episodes. Like, she just takes it to a whole
Yeah.
new level of just being manipulative and annoying, and I think
Yeah, it's the worst.
everyone starts to see it. Like, Marty finally starts to see it, the kids start to see it, and I think that's probably why they wanted to leave more than anything. Like, I think they would have stayed if it was just Marty, but because of everything they've seen her do, they're kind of just like, we've had enough. Like, we need to just get out of here.
Yeah. I mean, I think I did like that they brought her dad into this season and tried to give her more of a backstory, but it was a little bit too little too late. Like, you're like, yeah, okay, we can see why she's the way she is. Like, he is a really horrible, sexist, degrading, demeaning person who obviously treated his children like absolute shit. And the only reason he wanted the kids to go with him was a power move, because Wendy ran away. Wendy, cut him out of her life. Like, Wendy took her power back from him in a very small way. And this was his way of being like, fuck you, I'm going to take them. They're going to be mine now. And like, yeah, it's just like this constant power play between them, even though, as Ruth pointed out, she was like, you don't even want them. You don't even like them. What are you going to do when they, turn around and tell you to fuck off? Like,
Yeah, it was purely just like a payback move once he knew that Wendy had murdered Ben. And yeah, but like, I did like that Marty finally sort of started to stand up to her and was like, you always have to bring emotion into it and make the emotional play rather than just the smart, logical play that will get us out of this. Like, particularly when it comes to Ruth and Rachel and the drugs and the shares in the casino, where she just won't take their money, even though taking their money would solve all of the problems immediately.
Yeah, but again, it's just like ego, pride, and like her idea of power and control. Yeah, which was just, and they were going to do it anyway. Like it ended up like biting in the ass anyway. But I mean, that was a really great move on behalf of Wendy and Ruth and Rachel. Like, to go to the lawyer and realize, like, well, what was Wyatt's is mine, and what was Wyatt's was also Darlene's. So now I own a heroin farm and a boat.
And yeah, most of this casino.
Yeah, that's So like Ruth really could have turned around and like stepped into this really like Queen Darlene role, like that Darlene's death kind of left in the entire city or the entire Ozark. Had she lived, like, she's got the house, she's killed a bunch of people, she's buried them in her pool. Like, also Nelson got buried under a pool, which is very handy, like, to have a pool getting built that you can just dump a body in.
Yep.
But yeah,
like I really did think the show was taking us to the that conclusion that we sort of predicted last time, where Ruth was going to end up taking control and just kind of being the queen of the Ozarks, but ultimately that didn't end up happening, unfortunately.
Oh yeah. I mean, also, what was her name, the pharmacy woman?
Claire.
What a piece of shit. Like, she broke so quickly, so easily. When
at the casino,
Navarro's sister,
asked
who did it, and she was like, it was Ruth.
Yeah, like 2 seconds.
You bitch. Like, she was never going to find out. She was bluffing. Just shut up. Like, oh my God. Oh my God.
Yeah, when she broke so quickly, I was like, what are you doing?
I know. You could see her, like, eyeballs sweating, though. But I was just like, what are you doing? Like, why are you even at the gala? Like, you hated them for so long. You know what you stepped into, and it's an absolute shit pile. Like, you're trying to run a pharmacy, but you're buying, like, cartel drugs to make your stuff because you've got a shortage. Like,
yeah,
I don't know.
I assume she was there just to try and like make face and like look good in terms of, hey, we're funding this foundation. It'd be weird if I wasn't here. But yeah, then to
I would
just
have sent a
immediately
proxy. I would have
break, I was
just
like, what are
been
you
like,
doing?
no, I would have sent a proxy. I would have been like, here's my assistant. They're going to be there for 45 minutes. They're going to have a couple of shrimp cocktails and then they're going to leave.
Yeah,
That's it. I'm
just
not going.
send a representative that you don't
Let's
need to go
keep this
yourself.
business. That's it. I don't want to have coffee. I don't want to hang out at your gala. Like, yeah, I would not be being friends with those people. I'd just be, sell me your drugs. I'll give you whatever. Fuck off.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, she snapped so easily.
And then, yeah, that kind of led to the downfall of pretty much everyone from that point on. Like, Ruth basically gets taken out. Wendy and Marty are kind of freaking out about it, and they go home, and then the PI has already broken into their house, which was weird, just to get into that cookie jar.
Yeah.
Like,
it was like,
leave it alone,
pretty...
mate. They set you up. You're fine.
Yeah, I know.
Got your job back.
I know, that was
You just
you got
couldn't
your
leave
job
it
back
alone.
that you wanted. Oh, and the thing is, like, he got fired from being a cop because he had a coke addict, right?
Yeah, he stole cocaine from evidence.
So he's not the most moral or ethical character, and yet he's like got all of these sudden like morals around how he got his job back that he so desperately wanted. Like, that doesn't really make sense for his character, even if he is in AA. Like, it just doesn't make sense. Like, you don't change that easily.
Yeah, like,
so dumb.
It felt like, yeah, they had these 7 episodes and they desperately wanted to tie up all of the loose ends so that nobody could watch this and have complaints about, oh, they didn't answer this or they didn't finish this off. So they just found ways to tie them up, and they were kind of leaps of logic to get to the point to tie them up.
Yeah.
Which then overall kind of hurts the show.
Yeah. And I also felt like the whole, like, I'm investigating Ben's death thing, it was just unnecessary and long-winded. Like, and also, why didn't the cops figure out any of this stuff? Like, the amazing, like, information and evidence that he found that, like, solved the case should have just been regular police work. Like, check the cameras.
Check the security cameras. Check when Ben was checked out. And then check the
security cameras. Like, there's just so much obvious stuff that it was just like, are you really that bad at your job?
Yep. Yeah, it wasn't like groundbreaking information that someone in the cartel leaked to him.
He was such a, like, amazing cop. It was like, no, you just did the bare minimum.
Yep, it's just standard police work.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. I really didn't. I really hope they don't make a season 5, because I'll watch it because, you know, have to watch it, but I don't want to.
Yeah, I wonder if they'll just come back in a couple of years and do a movie and, like, follow up where, what are the kids' names? Charlotte and Jonah are now. I think maybe they.
Somehow they made me, because I've hated Charlotte this entire time. I hate her. She's so whiny. She's so entitled. She's such a fucking little brat. But Jonah is also a shit cunt. So Marty and Wendy are just producing these little morons out into the world. They don't respect their parents. And then the parents get so, like, shocked. Oh my God, I can't believe you don't respect me and you don't love me and you won't listen. Jonah! Like, every time she says the word Jonah, she's like surprised. Like, shocked that he's being a little insubordinate fuckwit. And it's like, why are you surprised? Why are you surprised again? I don't understand. Like, we all know he's a dickhead and you did this.
Yep. Yeah, I feel like that's kind of the whole message that the show eventually gives off, that evil corrupts all the generations. So, like, when the parents are crap, the kids are going to be crap. And it's hard to break that cycle. So, like, I get what the Fade to Black kind of leaves it open to interpretation of, does Jonah finally crack and take out Wendy? Or did he take out the PI and just kind of like, let's bring the family back together through this crazy murder and just move on with our lives. And it's like, it was weird that they still somehow got a happy ending out of it, the family.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of like the shitty part, isn't it? It's like, even after all the crappy things they've done and how awful they've all been, they're still like kind of reunited as a family at the very end, exactly what Wendy wanted. And then like, you know, they get away scot-free with all the shitty things they've done, even with the cartel and the money laundering and the FBI and everything, just as Wendy wanted. And it's all just like happy families with her dead brother in the goat cookie jar and probably a dead PI going to the and maybe they'll just finally fork out some decent money and buy a good incinerator for the funeral home, because apparently it doesn't do a very good job.
Yeah, apparently it still leaves just big chunks.
Yeah, like identifiable DNA. Great.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah, like I just feel like,
I mean, really,
the ending was just
really
annoying, because they got everything they wanted in the end, and everyone else around them just got burnt. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, even like just before they go to the gala and Charlotte comes out in her dress and she's all like, oh, like she's so happy, like, and then Jonah steps out in his suit and she's like, I'll go get ready. And it's like, oh, my family is like back now that I've, you know, manipulated them by going to a mental health institute. And now everyone loves me again and blah, blah, blah.
Yep, like they got their casino, Wendy got her foundation, the family's back together.
How did she get her casino back? Because Ruth dies, they get it.
Well, I think like Ruth just eventually was like, okay, I understand that if I don't cooperate, the cartel's going to kill me. And then they started to cooperate, and then obviously Claire breaks immediately and Ruth ends up getting killed. So I suspect if either Rachel doesn't take over those part of the shares, it will go to Wendy and Marty.
Well, it depends on whether Ruth had a will, and if she'd given it to 3, like she's probably got, he's her only living blood relative, so he would end up getting it, I guess. I mean, it just could have been really great. Like, get rid of the birds because they're awful, and then Ruth takes over the bell and takes over as, you know, Queen of the Ozarks, and then she gets married to the mob son that had his dick shot off by Darlene. What was his name? Junior or something.
Yep.
Junior?
I think so.
Yeah, because they were like quite cute and friendly and flirty for like a bit there. So it was like, you know, a nice little friendship. They could have been the king and queen of, you know, Illinois, I want to say.
Oh, that's a good question. I think it's...
I think Chicago.
Chicago's Illinois.
Illinois.
I don't know where the Ozarks are. I think the Ozarks are Missouri?
I'm going to Google it. Yes, Missouri.
I think it's Missouri. Because Kansas City's in Missouri.
How are they getting back to Chicago? Oh, it's so far away.
Yep.
Chicago is heaps far away. How are they driving there that quickly?
I don't know. That's another hole in the story. But yeah, like, I really wish we just got the ending that we predicted, where you think everything's fine, they've got their happy ending, and then they lose it all anyway. That would have been so much more fitting and
much better writers than they are.
It would have just fit with the theme of the show, where just when you think everything's fine, it's not fine. Whereas this one, it was kind of just like, yeah, it kind of all is in the end.
Yeah, everything works out fine for them. So, what else happened that was interesting? I think that was it.
Yeah, there wasn't anywhere near as much. I feel like the first half of the season had so many more moments where you're like, oh, hang on. Whereas this one was kind of just with the motions. Like, I watched most of this on the plane, and it was just kind of like, nothing is overly standout.
Yeah. What, when you came to Melbourne?
Yep. Yes, yeah, so.
I mean, that's a good way to kill 7 hours while you're stuck somewhere.
Stuck in an airport, yep. Have you been watching anything else recently?
Yes, I have. So like 5 years ago, I watched the season 1 of The Sinner. Have you watched that?
Yep.
So I watched that season 1 5 years ago, and then I don't know, it was so intense that I was like, I don't think I can watch season 2 anytime soon. And I finally watched season 2 a couple of weeks ago. And I've watched season 2 and season 3, and I've still got to watch season 4. But yeah, so I really liked season 2 was where the kid is in the motel with his parents and he kills them.
Yep.
So that one I thought was really interesting. Yeah, I really liked that one. I thought it was like quite gripping because it kind of goes into like the cult family that he has and who the real father is and who the real mother was and all this kind of stuff. Like there's a lot of really great like story writing and twists. But then season 3, have you seen season 3?
Yeah.
It's the one where, yeah, the hot teacher is just like pretty like obviously depressed with life, and then his friend shows up and they're all like really obsessed with Nietzsche and the idea that of nihilism and becoming like the superior man and working through, I don't know, like what, like the idea of like chance is the only thing that keeps us moving forward and like death isn't.
Yep.
I don't know. I thought it was fucking weird. And like
I didn't like
his,
season
like,
3.
descent. Yeah, I didn't like it. Like his descent into just like this weird madness that kind of came out of nowhere, and like his friend's spirit was attached to him, and he just goes around killing people all of a sudden because why? Oh, because you're free. It doesn't matter anymore. I'm like, okay, like this is dumb. The
Yeah, I
one
didn't
thing
like
that I
season 3
do
at all.
keep thinking about is how he traps Harry in the, how he buries him and he gives him the pipe
Yep.
to breathe, and he goes, you won't know how long you're down there, but you need the pipe, and then he takes the pipe out, and then he's like, I'm sorry, I had to do it so that you actually thought you were going to die. Like that's the beauty of this whole task.
Yep.
And he was just like, seeing everything for the first time, like really like beautiful tiny glistening drops of whatever, and it was just like okay.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Season
And then
3
how at
was
the
like
end he
really
dies and
weird.
he's just like, it was really weird. I was like, this wasn't good weird. It was just shitty weird, like kind of droned out of it and was just like doing 10 million other things at the same time. So I haven't watched season 4 yet because I was just kind of like, I
Well,
don't know, man.
thankfully, season 4 takes it back to sort of a much better level of closer to season 1 and 2. So that's a good
Okay,
thing that
cool.
you can
I'll
look
have to
forward
watch
to.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. I was
Yeah,
so
I'll
excited for
definitely have
season 3, and then
to
it
go
ended up
back up
being that,
again.
and I was like, oh, what the hell is this?
Yeah, that was the right facial expression. I was the same. I was just like, huh, okay.
This is not what I
Cool.
expected.
Not really the same thing. Yeah, not really the same thing at all. And he probably could have gotten away with his like leaving his friend to die. If he just hadn't spiraled, like he could have gotten away with it, but then he just fucking spiraled and made it all worse for himself. So
yeah, the other thing I'm watching at the moment is the new season of Better Call Saul. You a Better Call Saul fan?
me too. That's what I've actually started. Sorry, I got so excited because I was like, I know I've been watching something, but I restarted it because it's been like over a year since I watched it, and I couldn't like I restarted watching the most recent season before this new one, and I couldn't remember anything. I was like, oh, like I vaguely remember that, but who's that guy? So I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna bite the bullet, start from the beginning, and then by the time I'm up to date, like all the most recent episodes will be out.
Yep.
So no spoilers. I haven't started it yet.
Okay, I won't spoil anything, but it's great. It's absolutely fantastic.
Okay.
The final season apparently.
Perfect.
So a much better
Okay.
ending from, well, so far it's wrapping up the story much better than Ozark did.
Yeah. Okay. It's such a good show. Like I'm on season 1 right now, and like the nerdy pharmacist IT guy with his orange and red Hummer and like selling like the pills to Nacho and just Mike just cracked me up.
Yep.
But yeah, it's just so good. It's so well written.
And I love like all the little like Easter eggs where if you've watched Breaking Bad, you pick them up, and how all the characters sort of eventually come to be who they are, which is cool.
Yeah, yeah, especially like, I mean, being the origin story of Jimmy, and like just seeing all the kind of shit he's had to deal with Chuck, and like, all he ever wanted was his big brothers, like, you know, for him to be proud of him. And Chuck just goes, I was proud of you when you worked in the mailroom, not when you got a law degree and passed the bar, because it just wasn't up to his standard. Because I don't know,
It's just, yeah, not what he pictured Jimmy as.
well, he was just never proud of him. And yeah, I don't know, never wanted him to like elevate himself, I guess.
Yep. The one thing I am looking forward
But
to that they announced pre the season starting is Jesse and Walt make an appearance in this final season. So
wow. See, I wish
whether
you hadn't told me that. That feels like a spoiler. No.
I haven't seen it. I don't know where it happens, but whether
Yeah.
it's like a big like full on meeting in the show where it's them clearly being introduced, or if it's them two like sitting in the
Yeah.
background at a cafe or something, I would not put it past that being what the cameo is. That'd be right up Vince Gilligan's mindset, I think.
Yeah. That would be cool though, because yeah, like I'm constantly trying to figure out like the timing and the dates and like whatever the timeline is. And it's hard because obviously they filmed Better Call Saul after Breaking Bad. And like Mike is so old. Like the actor is just, he is really aged in whatever that time space is. And so it's just like, yeah, funny that he's supposed to be like 5 years younger than
Yep.
he is in Breaking Bad, but he looks 10 years older. So,
And they love like the
yeah,
time jumps too, backwards and forwards as well. So it's kind of like you're constantly trying to work out what time period is this? Where is this in the timeline?
yeah, you just have to look at the mobile phones and you'll have a good idea.
Yep.
It's so bad. At the moment, I'm watching the one where he's like he's taking a break. He's decided he doesn't want to be a lawyer anymore. And he like has his phone in a plastic Ziploc baggie in the pool at the resort before they like scam the hotshot stockbroker.
Yep.
But yeah, like what a sick little flippy phone. Miss those bad boys.
Yeah. So overall, Ozark, a little bit disappointing, but there's plenty of other good stuff out at the moment that is worth checking out if you are feeling underwhelmed by the end of Ozark.
Yeah, which you will be because it sucked.
I'll be interested to see how Netflix copes now, though, without Ozark. Right after they're coming off having their first loss in subscribers. And
yeah.
They're probably the biggest show at the moment is now ending.
Sanctioned Russia, right? So all of their Russian subscribers dropped off, and they were like, "Well, that shot us in the foot." And now
they introduced their no sharing accounts in South America as well. So
I mean, that
lost a few people then. It should help them, but I don't think it has at the moment.
You think financially it would help their share price? Because surely you'll just bite the bullet and do it, like it's what, $10-15 a month. I don't know because I don't pay for my own Netflix. I use my mum's, so I'm hoping that they don't do it here anytime soon. We'll figure it out, but yeah.
Yeah, like now that they're losing one of their biggest shows, it'd be interesting to see what they announce. And like this is one of the shows where they actually let it run for a decent amount of time too. Like a lot of their shows hit a third season and then that's it. Whereas this one, they persevered through to a proper series finale.
Was there anything that they cancelled that you were like, damn, I really wanted another season of?
Mindhunter.
Oh my god, I loved Mindhunter. That's a great one.
Yeah, they did one season and that was it.
They were bringing out. No, they did 2 seasons. I thought they were bringing out a third. Are they not bringing out a third season?
The actor, the main actor wants to do it, and I think the writer said he wants to do another season, but Netflix hasn't officially renewed it yet.
Ford Holden or Holden Ford.
It's such a weird name.
So good.
As an Australian watching that show.
Yeah, I know. So good. I don't know if we talked about this last time. Have you watched The Witcher?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I loved that. And they're bringing out a third season, so that's good.
Yeah, that's a good show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting to see how they go in the next few months on what new projects they announce that aren't just
I'm pretty sure they're still
big budget one-off movies.
It's got so much CGI that it's like, surely it's not going to be a quick turnaround. Like, that's going to be a year.
Oh yeah, that'll be a year at least, and a lot of money invested.
Yeah, so I reckon that would probably be the next one where they're going to be like, big. That's the big one. Otherwise, I don't know.
Stranger Things, but I think that ends this year.
Oh, is that coming out soon?
Yep, I think it's July. Don't quote me on that, but I think it's July, and then I think that's the last season as well.
Yeah.
So they're ending another one of their big franchises.
But that's been around for years, like 2016 that came out?
Yep. Yeah, I think this is season 4 or 5.
Far out. That's massive. It's a good run. But it's weird as well watching the kids grow up.
Mm-hmm. I think that's probably part of the reason of like, okay, it's time to end this before they become too old and distanced from the story.
Like, just change the characters, like new, I don't know, make it about I'm not sure what her name is, the little sister to one of the boys, and she's like heaps smarter.
Yep.
I like her. I like that they brought more of her into it with I can't remember his name either, but the hot guy with the hair.
Oh God, yeah, I don't remember his name, but I know who you're talking about.
Steve,
I think that's it. Yep.
Steve. Yeah, that was fun. Felt very 80s, like a real 80s film.
Yep.
And they're running around the shopping mall. But yeah.
Alrighty. I think that's kind of covers everything off. Thank you for listening to the commentary booth. If you enjoyed the show, please remember to rate, review, and subscribe on podcast services and on YouTube. You can follow Jess on Instagram at Maison de Femmes and catch a glimpse of the beautiful jewelry there that she creates. Thanks for coming on the show.
Yay, thanks, Jamie.
Alrighty, and you can follow me on social media at Jamie Media and at Pario Magazine. The Commentary Booth is a fan-funded production of Jamie Apps Media. You can support the podcast alongside our magazine, Pario Magazine, on Patreon at patreon.com/Jamie Apps Media. The following people supported at the community support group level or higher, and you cannot fathom how incredibly appreciative we are for their support. Brian and June Hart, Blake Robinson, Rena Renee, Courtney Paulson, Darren Hatcliffe, Jackson Carr, and Tracy Apps.